Hey, this is Nate from Spirit Adrift. I'm here with Metal Injection, breaking down the riffs that taught me. So the very first guitar stuff I remember hearing and taking note of was Tuesday's Gone by Lynyrd Skynyrd, Up Around the Bend by Creedence, Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix is the reason I started learning guitar. However, today I'm going to start with a few Black Sabbath riffs. Sabbath was definitely the first time I was introduced to the true power of the riff, and that laid the foundation for what would become my guitar style. So that was a National Acrobat. Geezer Butler actually wrote that riff. That one was huge for me, not just because of the style of the riff, but the type of harmony. I still, to this day, just call that a National Acrobat harmony. I don't even know what the intervals are, but that's how I learned how to do that. Thin Lizzy uses the same thing. It's a big recurring harmony that Spirit Adrift uses. Now, another thing that I learned from Black Sabbath is something that Tony Iommi does pretty frequently, which is big chords with open strings sustaining over the top of the chord, like the chorus in Snowblind. So the third super important lesson that I learned from Tony Iommi was the art of giant power chord based riffs with lots of vibrato. And these type of riffs are circular and almost symmetrical in a weird way and familiar down to your bones. Like when you have perfected one of these riffs and you get it just right, you know it's just right. You're almost taking the subjectivity completely out of it. You could pick a million different Tony Iommi riffs, Iron Man, all kinds of stuff like that. Today, I feel like playing Sign of the Southern Cross. The next band that was hugely influential on my riff writing is Metallica. By listening to their first 4 albums and trying to learn every single riff, I was able to start learning chunkier, more intricate, heavier stuff. I could pick a ton of different songs for this. No Remorse is a big one. Creeping Death, Master Puppets, full of great riffs. Harvester of Sorrow. But when I was examining the way that I write songs for Spirit Adrift, I noticed a recurring sort of strategy I think I learned from Call of Cthulhu. It involves atypical chord voicings and shapes. Once again, the open strings ringing out. Eerie vibes that do eventually resolve melodically. So Call of Cthulhu is a big one for me. My next really important riff instructor was a guy named Jeff Hanneman. When I discovered Slayer, I was hooked. I tried to learn every single riff that I could. One of the ones that stands out to me is Blood Red from Seasons in the Abyss. It's a little more mid-tempo, syncopated, meaning it has like a bounce to it and a groove. And Slayer taught me a new way of doing guitar harmonies that I wasn't hearing from the more melodic bands like Thin Lizzy and Metallica. So here's Blood Red. I think High on Fire was the first band I got into as a kid that was actually a current new band. Matt Pike quickly became one of my favorite riff writers. He's another guy that you could pick hundreds of different riffs, but the one that really blew me away is on the first High on Fire album. It's called 10,000 Years. So as far as the big giant power chord type riffs that I mentioned earlier, I think 10,000 Years kind of sets the standard. After getting really into that kind of stuff, I discovered Pantera. Dimebag Darrell's one of the most important guitarists to me. He's my favorite metal guitarist. He's very unique because he grew up with the shred guys, Eddie Van Halen and all of that kind of stuff. But he also grew up in an environment where he was seeing and hearing a lot of country music, southern rock. So he had a very unique style. It involved a lot of twangy single note hammer-ons and pull-offs, pinch harmonics, shredding, super heavy chunky chords, and that was definitely a big inspiration for me, someone who was able to reconcile all of that, because I grew up the same way, listening to really heavy metal, southern rock, and country. This riff, Where You Come From, it's one of the original songs on the Pantera Live album. I think it's a super overlooked Dimebag riff, and it sort of encapsulates everything that was great and unique about him as a player. So once I mastered this concept of really heavy, massive power chord based riffs, and then the kind of intricate, fun single note riffs like the one I just played, I discovered this concept of the open fifth string pedal, which is used a lot in metal. 2 Minutes to Midnight's a perfect example. I think the most cliche and obvious example is Crazy Train. That was a super important riff to me because it showed me different rhythmic timing and different chord voicing, which can completely open up your game. But that fifth open string pedal, I mean, it's used all over the place. I'm gonna show you Crazy Train, which is one example. Into the Coven, Merciful Fate, that's another great example. And on the other end of the spectrum, ZZ Top likes to use it too. That last song was Waiting on the Bus by ZZ Top. I was in a band in Arkansas that played a 12 or 15 song ZZ Top set for Halloween, and we were really meticulous and microscopic about getting it right. And learning how to play those songs the way Billy Gibbons does improved my guitar playing as much as anything I've ever done. He is a master beyond masters. You know, he plays the coolest and most interesting possible thing. He's one of those guys that's like, yeah, I could play all that goofy shit, but I ain't. I'm gonna play something cooler. You know, master of timing and style and swagger, and that's all really important. Another guy who's very unique and sort of opened up new doors and areas for me to explore is Alex Lifeson. I'm gonna focus on Spirit of Radio. It has a lot of stuff that I use, different techniques. The higher string, single note hammer-ons and pull-offs onto the open strings, I do that quite a bit. Lower, chunkier, chromatic, cool, almost Led Zeppelin blues bass riffs. But the part that really opened up my mind to new areas to explore would be the verse riff. Strange chord voicings, and once again, incorporating those open sustaining strings within the riff. The last riff I'm going to discuss today is from a song by a dude named Dwight Twilley. It's called Looking for the Magic. It's actually Tom Petty playing guitar. Tom is one of those dudes that's so beloved and respected for his songwriting, lyricism, and singing that I think people sleep on what an incredible, interesting guitar player he is. This is a perfect example of taking regular power chords and knowing the chord changes, but doing them instead of power chords or just traditional chords, coming up with really interesting voices and different ways of maneuvering between the different chord changes. So this is Looking for the Magic. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Those were the riffs that taught me. Check out Ghost at the Gallows. It's a brand new Spirit Adrift album coming out August 18th. We got songs out, streaming everywhere. Also, check out my podcast, Big Riff Energy. You can find it wherever podcasts are available. And all I do is talk about riffs. So if you like those, check it out.